Hi, I'm Francois from Production Music Live today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at the style of Rampa, the remix for Neverender by Justice, and we have a fully arranged track here lasting around 5 minutes, only using Ableton stock effects and instruments plus Serum, PML sounds, different harmonies and melodies, different vocals, and we have the arrangement overview here with an intro in the beginning. Reverse engineered from the reference track so we can learn the thinking behind the style and apply some of the tricks and techniques to our own music. After 17 bars or 30 seconds at 120 BPM, we are entering those bass notes here. And so you're getting this interplay between the bass, the sub, and the toms, and these very characteristic for Rampa sound, a bit loudly mixed bells. So and then we have a break part here where we are playing the pianos, and we also have a vocal which I turned off for a second. And this project file is part of the Afro House Sound Pack Volume 2, here with project files, sample pack, Serum presets, and MIDIs for each Serum preset that comes with this bank. Putting a link in the description. We have this drop part here now where everything is playing together, and we have all these cymbals also coming in the drums part. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's play it again. And then we are going into this bridge part after like 2 minutes. And then we have another break where these typical Rampa whoop sounds are coming in. And kind of crazy, you might be asking yourself like, what's going on here? But from a sound design perspective, it's super interesting. In the remix, they have that together with the vocals. So let's also activate the vocals here. We'll take a look at the sound design of that a bit later, but after that we are going into that drop part again. Yeah, and then we are getting these analog leads again on top here, where the climax of the song sort of resides, and then we are going into an outro. So very cool track, kind of deep house, deep Afro house, nice vibes, interesting bass sounds. Let's quickly play the drums group solo with all the drum elements. And super characteristic, these bell sounds. If I turn those off. And rhythm. Bass group. And in this drop, we even have this sub-tom. And the instruments group in the draw part. And then the effects group here in the build-up. Together with this uplifter, pretty wild. And the vocals as Atmos and textures. From PML Vocals Pack Volume 2, this Atmo, for example, this Atmo, the second one, also from that pack, and another texture here from the, what is that? Also from the Vocals Volume 2 pack. But all of these sounds are also part of the project file, which is called Myself, which is this complete Ableton project that's also part of this Afro House Sound Pack Volume 2. So that's the vocals group. Okay, so now we can dive into the elements here one by one and take a closer look. But quickly before that, who's Rampa? He's a producer now based in Berlin, known for his influential role at the label Keinemusik, which has been totally blowing up in the last couple of years. And fun fact, Rampa is actually from the same town as PML. Freiburg, founded Keinemusik in 2009, and we were at one of their parties in 2014 and already had this big white cloud over the DJ booth in a small club here. Very cool to see them grow over the years. He's released numerous collaborations with notable artists and also focused on his company Tame, which creates custom DJ equipment. His philosophy of keeping it slow. And if you want to learn more about him and me, watch the Telekom Beats video I'm linking in the description below. Okay, so let's take a look at the drums first, and we have a couple of kick elements here that I'm copying over so we can listen to them one by one. This is how we reverse engineered the kick here. It's also later bounced out into the one-shots part of this sample pack here as well in the kicks folder. It's called Myself. That's this element here. And just a quick look at how it's put together. We have this body, which has been built up with Serum to sort of really match the exact envelope with LFO1 and LFO2 controlling the chorus pitch. So we have the absolute correct bottom, and then on top of that we are setting the top kick out of a bunch of top kicks from, or top, transients from PML samples. And that's how this is reverse engineered here. And below that we have a second kick, which does. And so you get this pattern. And now we can also copy in the tom sound here as well. Which we also rendered out into the samples of this pack as well, but it's generated here again with Serum and with a tom sound to really get to the essence of this sound. You can see a lot of processing here, but it doesn't really make sense to look too much into it, because for producing forward, you wouldn't work like this. You would work with a sample, but producing backward from a reference track, it then can look like this. Much more important to look at is this pattern 1 1 1, and then this position, those two positions here in the second bar. This is one bar, and here's your other bar, and then you can see the positioning. That's how you achieve this groove. So then you have the clap snare on top of that. Again, layered a bunch of elements here to get to the sound. Looks kind of crazy, but sometimes, you know, you need a bit of a snare, a bit of a clap, and a bit of tambourine or something. And it needs to sit all on top of each other. Then you can bounce it out as a sample and use in your next track once you're happy with the sound. And let's already go to the bass elements that we have here, bass sub 2 and bass sub. I'm just quickly copying them over. One is sort of bouncing around, and now we are looking more in detail at the elements. And the other one is sustained. So that's the sustained one, and that's the bouncy one. And what is it doing? And that's the MIDI. So you have these 32 notes here playing. And what's going on in sound design here? Let's take a closer look at Serum, which is used in this case. We have oscillator B fully playing at full level, but taking FM frequency modulation from this sub oscillator here. And that's how you get to this FM type sound. If I'm turning this off, you can not even hear it on a smartphone. You would have to have good speakers to hear those sub frequencies. And now if we quickly take a look at the matrix, here we see the LFO setup. LFO number 1 is controlling the volume of oscillator A, and a bit of the LFO 2 controls a bit of the coarse pitch of oscillator A. Envelope 2, this one is controlling our filter cutoff. So that's here. So this one is being pitched in and out, and the levels up with, you know, with LFO 1. If I'm quickly turning this off. Let's turn off those two and just listen to what this one is doing. So this one is offering the click. And now we need, on top of that, we need this click, this transient, because that's what the reference bass sound sounds like. And now we need the tail of the sound as well. And you see we have a pretty short decay time here, 150 milliseconds, and we have a decay time of 308 milliseconds in the envelope that controls our amplifier, and the release is pretty short as well. So that's super plucky and bouncy. And for longer releases, we have this other bass sound sitting right below here playing. I think we're in F minor. Let's quickly put that scale in here so we can see D flat, E flat, F, E flat. And what's going on in the tail here, if you take a look at the sound, you don't have any movement in the sound. We're just playing saw rounded to square, three octaves down, and then we are playing saw rounded to square 2 octaves down and some semitones, 3 semitones down. So this one is playing harmonic information on top, and we also play the sub oscillator, but ever so slightly. Is this, I kind of forgot, is that input anywhere? No. So how is this jumpiness in the tail of the notes? achieved, this is the sidechained audio from bass sub 1. So whenever bass sub 1 is playing MIDI information here, this one, the sub 2, is being docked. And you can see it here. There you can see it. And it just takes down the sub whenever, you know, the transients of the first one are playing. So you have room for this bass information. And now let's play it together with the setup that we already had with our tom and with our kicks. So we had kick 2, the clap is here, that's our tom, and that's kick 1. So let's put them all in a visible setup here so we can definitely see who's playing what and when. I'm taking off the clap actually. We just look at the elements without it. You notice every single element has its own place, its own position. There's not too much overlap going on between these elements. Just sometimes, like here, we are playing the same note position, but usually it's more like, you know, you're trying to play in between the other elements. So for example, you have this one playing here, then you have this one playing down here, and then this one starts and then this one comes back. So you have a nice, you know, question answer pattern in between these elements. Bit of saturation on the bass group overall here, and it's also entirely sidechained to both these kicks as well, so to kick 1 and to kick 2. So there is room always whenever those are playing. We are not playing everything on top. So if you have this setup, your track is basically done, because that's the cool part and the more difficult part of the track. And now it's really about, well, let's take in the typical Rampa type Afro house elements, which will be, you know, a piano that's playing on top. And, you know, we're playing 1 bar, but before bar 2 starts, we're already falling into the next chord. So it's a bit of, you know, it's a bit more interesting. It has these, you know, additional notes here, already announcing the chord that will come up. And then we are playing on the first beat in the 3rd bar, and then we're doing it early again before the 4th one. And also, let's quickly take a look at the chords while we're at it. So down here we have a D major 7th chord, sorry, D flat major 7th chord. I'm quickly bringing this up a bunch of octaves. It's easier to see. Here's our root. There's the 7th. Now I'm bringing the A flat up, and we can see a major 3rd between D flat and F, and a minor 3rd between those 2 notes, and then another major 3rd. So you have a 7th chord. And now it's all voiced up again. And then that's that F here again, and the A flat here again. So D flat major 7 followed by, let's actually quickly reverse all these copied elements here. That one's down there. And the next one is starting with E flat. what's going on here. We have an E flat major chord. Let me bring it up again. So there's a major third in between E flat and G. And let's actually copy the B flat down. And now you can see that's our, that's a major third followed by a minor third. So you have an E major chord. And then we have the sixth playing here. But it can also be interpreted as the 13 because our E was actually down an octave. So technically speaking, you could call this an E flat major added 13. Because that's an added note in the chord. So where was that? Let's copy it all back. I think it was like this. And now the next one is a bit easier to see. That's an F minor chord. Also sounds a bit more familiar when you play it. We bring it up an octave here. There you can see the F minor right there. Minor third followed by a major third. And then octave higher, C an octave higher, F another octave higher. There you go. It's, by the way, always a nice change here. If you bring this up and you play it this way, that's an interesting start for a song. And now you need something to switch it up. Probably this one. So. And back to. Well, and so on. You get the point. Let me put this back down and this one back down as well. So the last chord here, got distracted a bit, is E flat major. How do we know that? Let's bring this B flat up here. And there you see E flat, also our root note down here. 3 semitones in between is a major chord and 2 semitones in between, E flat major. And again, the G up there, an octave higher voiced. So bring this back down, and that's our chord progression. You could also argue we are in D flat Lydian, but this depends a bit on where you think this track is sort of resting more. Is it more in, F minor, or is it more in D flat Lydian? You can let me know in the comments below what you think. I'm going on with the next element now. Below this piano, another crucial element for the sound would be this one note key element. That's the pattern here. We're playing that with Serum, and let's just play it together with the bass. So 3 voices of anti-stasis and 3 voices of bottle blow. Filtered, that's your sound here. And again, that's the MIDI pattern here playing C. If we're in F minor, C is our 5th. Super stable in the chord progression, totally works. But yeah, again, this would not be a Rampa track if there wasn't one drum element mixed a bit louder, or more correctly, one percussive element mixed a bit louder. In this case here, this bell thing, copying that in. Also note the velocities are not always the same on this one, very important. Yeah, there are our key ingredients already. You have this bell sound here. Has some funny harmonic information in there as well. And then you have this one layered together, helping a bit with the transient. And this one is even a bit pitched higher, but together, you know, there's this sort of bit of atonal information in there as well, so it totally works. Okay, and now you throw in a whole bunch of cymbals and shakers, this entire group that I'm going to just treat as a loop. You know, just to fill out your drum frequency spectrum. This is a collection of different PML shaker samples and PML closed hi-hat samples. It's nothing crazy. It just fills in the blanks between those beats here and makes sure you have a bit of a groove. Skipping the details on this one. If you're interested in how this is put together, feel free to check the link in the description to this project file in this Afro House sound pack, and you can study it and reverse engineer it yourself. And now you almost have your track. I'm going to take a look at one more important element here, which is this analog lead. This one. And it's a super simple sound. You just have a saw wave, 3 voices, put this to mono, put it to always portamento, picking it up and setting the portamento high so it pitches between the notes. And then filter it, and then sidechain it, and then auto pan active from left to right, and then also sidechain it to the kick. And then basically you fill it up with a bunch of pads that are also reverse engineered here. So we need 3 of them or even 5 of them because we don't have the original instrument that has been used for the pads at our fingertips, and we're trying to make it with Ableton and Serum. So we are layering pads together that play the same note information the piano is playing. Octave higher to fill out the frequencies. And kind of super saw but filtered. And that's how we achieve the depth in the pads. And behind that, we also have these super stable ones, just playing, you know, the root note and the fifths in the background, like this one. Kind of like the drones. And speaking of drones, we also have these Atmos here in the vocal group from the PML Volume 2 Vocals pack, but also copied into the project files folder of this pack. And some of them get sent into the Hall send effect here, which is a 3 seconds decay reverb and cleaned up. And then that one gets sent into the send effects and sidechained to the kick. So the send effects are sidechained as well. And then it all goes into the master, which looks like this. I just copied that in before making this video. The master looks like this. Yeah, and let's take a look at this crazy whoop thing here. What's going on there? Well, you know, it's a combination in this case of a Serum sound and the sample, which is just, you know, throwing in some other noise in the background. It's a whoop sound, kind of messed around with here in the formants and pitched up 8 semitones and a bit more. Was that originally? Yeah, it's a whoop sound from another Rampa project file, Rampa style project file we made in the past. Let's look at the Serum setup. Well, this LFO shape here tells you everything. We're starting at a certain, you know, pitch, and we're keeping that for a while, and then we're going up quickly, and then we're back behind that. We're going back down and lower. So it goes it goes lower. So this thing here controls the level. So it not only becomes, you know, louder, it also it's not only pitched up, it also becomes louder. Okay, and if we look at the matrix, so LFO1 controls the volume of A and B, oscillator A and oscillator B, and actually also the noise level. So the alpha noise here from the noise level. And now if we look at LFO2, this one is controlling the, what is that, pitches here. LFO2 controls the chorus pitches of both oscillators, and LFO3 controls the pitch of everything. So basically LFO2 is doing this part up until here, and then mirroring what LFO1 is doing is LFO2 is doing this part, and then LFO3 is coming in and saying, yeah, and all of that, we're also then taking it a bit down, taking care of this tail part here. So this one controls the volume of the oscillators, this one controls the high pitch thingy, and that one then says, yeah, nice pitching it around, let's pitch it all down towards the end, and then repeat from the beginning. And we're using this basic shapes here, kind of like a triangle kind of wave, and the B-sod. And it's also, you see, we have, you know, this, it's not like super easy to put together. You just have to mess around a bit to get to such a sound. Sometimes takes, you know, a moment. Together with that sample. And now if you still think this is a bit too friendly and too weak, you can also throw that through some amplifier or some saturation or distortion and go even more crazy on that sound. But we want to sort of finish up with this video, so quickly looking at these 3 other effects here: an impact, a uplifter, and a downlifter. Those are also in the track as well. So summing it up, in order to get to this sound, you need this kick sound here. Sounds a bit more like a live kick. And combine it with the second one that goes tuk-tum, tuk-tum. And then very typical is the interplay with toms as well. Total Q&A or call and response pattern here. There you already have a lot of interesting sub groove, and now you even take it to another level with this sub bass below here. Which has a bit of an FM character to it, and below that you have the sustained sub bass, a bit quieter for, you know, the overall warm feeling, so it's not too stabby. And for Rampa, very typical, as we mentioned, the loudly mixed bell elements. And now in order to have a nice groove, you combine that with a lot of shakers. And we already arrive at the typical piano used in these Afro house tracks. Playing some chords early, falling into them already early, and some on the bar. And then you always have the one note key element. And then it's followed up, filled in by a lot of textures and pads, those that we have here, to sort of make sure it's a fully sounding track and warm and nice. And we always, or almost always, have one element where at first listen you might be thinking, what is going on? And in this case here's this, but quite typical for Keinemusik Rampa, to have this whoop sound in there as well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little track breakdown here. If you're interested in the sounds or this project file or even more sounds, check the link in the description to the Afro House Soundpack Volume 2. If you want to learn how to produce this genre from start to finish, check out our start to finish course for Afro House, also linking that in the description. If you're interested in the vocals, I'm linking the vocal packs in the description. If you thought like, hey, that's interesting, the chord progression, that looks interesting, I want to learn more about harmony and chord progressions, I'm also linking to the music theory in the description. And if you're saying, hey, I actually want all of that, take a look at the Everything bundle. Great sounds in there. This is the best deal we have by far. It's totally amazing. Check that out. Links in the description as well. I'm going to play the entire track now. Thanks for your attention, and I'll talk to you again soon.
space.